On Tuesday, President Biden talked about a really important issue. It's the issue of voting rights for all Americans, but specifically for minority Americans. As a guy who grew up in the South, this issue is really important to me. It's one of the reasons why I was so infuriated by the comments of the president, likening where we are today to somehow returning to the Jim Crow era. Now, for those of you not familiar with the Jim Crow era, it was a terrible time, a time when we saw Black men and women denied the right to vote. And when I say deny the right to vote, I'm not talking about simply saying, no, thank you, you cannot vote here. I'm saying that they were denied the right to vote by violence, literally people being hung from trees, losing your job if you even showed up to vote. I'm talking about having to know the number of jelly beans in a jar. There was literacy tests. In other words, if you were able to somehow, some way get through all the other challenges to voting, you would have to pass a literacy test. And early in our country's history, even up into the 1960s, many African Americans could not read. So for the president to bring up that dark, evil time in our nation's history, and to compare that to the Georgia law, the Jim Crow 2.0 as he refers to it, is ludicrous. It's insulting. But then the president went even lower than that. To compare people who do not agree with him to the likes of Bull Connor, Jefferson Davis, or George Wallace. He didn't just refer to Republicans as racists and traitors. He even included members of his own party who disagree with him. I can't think of a better example of failed leadership than the speech I heard on Tuesday. It wounded my heart because I have watched America struggle with our original sin for my entire life. We are not where we want to be, but thank God Almighty, we are not where we used to be. Because in a state like South Carolina, a guy who looks like me running for Congress in 2010 would have had no chance against Strom Thurmond, Senator Strom Thurmond's son. You see, the progress that we're looking for in America from a racial perspective is literally right before our eyes. And yet our president wants us to believe what he says more than what we see. America deserves better. Because it was Americans who have fought from 1865 at the end of the Civil War to 1965, the end of the Jim Crow era, both ended, not because of Republicans or Democrats, but because of good-willed Americans, ordinary people who stood up to be counted, filled the gap, stood in the fire, so that we today could live in more harmony than we did yesterday. You see, I believe that we all have the responsibility of making this nation better for the next generation. It's time for our president to stop dodging the reality of his failed leadership. Instead of us having a conversation today about the fact that too many Americans on fixed incomes are seeing their pay go down because inflation is going up, he has us distracted by his speech on Tuesday. Instead of us working towards providing more tests for families and for children trying to return to school, he's trying to have a wedge to distract us from his failed policies. America deserves better, and better is coming to our nation. God bless you, and God please continue to bless these United States of America.